every weekend we go out to the west coast of the United States. I can't even remember where it is anymore. And we check in with Michael Snyder and find out all about the movies that are happening. Michael, how you doing this week?
I'm good, Alex. Hooray for Hollywood. We're rocking and rolling out here. But, it's also a significant weekend because it's the first, super giant, mega, jaw-dropping blockbuster to come out for this summer, and I'm sure there'll be more. Maybe there's been a couple others, but there's been a lot of anticipation for Avengers Infinity War amongst comic book geeks and fans of lots of explosions and stuff. And finally, after 10 years and roughly 18 superhero movies that are interconnected to different degrees and that have brought dozens of the Marvel Comics characters to the big screen, Marvel Studios gets to the point. They get to the point. It's part one of a big galaxy-threatening blowout that wraps up a bunch of the storylines that they've been seeding throughout the movies. Now, how big is this? Well, spoiler alert, if Avengers Infinity War truly lived up to its title, I'd still be in the theater like forever, but it's a mere 156 minutes long. And actually, when it stopped, I could have watched a little longer because it sets up another film that's going to come out next year. In any case, it was a little superheroic interruptus with a jaw-dropping final 20 minutes. Now, is it any good? Well, yes, but with caveats. The supervillain Thanos, who's been teased in a handful of Marvel movies and played via excellent motion capture CGI by Josh Brolin, is after something called the Infinity Stones that we've seen in other Marvel movies. Even standalone ones where there's no need to have seen a movie before or after the film, like Black Panther. Anyway, these are powerful gems that can each capture reality-bending ends, and when put together on an infinity gauntlet, can give the wearer godlike control over all existence. And only Marvel's lineup of superpowered icons, played by the usual movie star suspects, can stop this from happening. I mean, they really load this baby up. I kind of hope we get William Conrad, who was the actor and voiceover guy who did When We Last Left Our Heroes on the old Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoons, but that doesn't happen here. Instead, what we get, courtesy of directors Anthony Russo and Joe Russo, the brothers Russo, and screenwriters Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, is a series of cool pairings and quippy dialogue and extravagant action scenes and smaller scale battles that are like the superpowered equivalent of those old tag team wrestling matches. I mean, for instance, it's wonderful to see Robert Downey Jr.'s ironclad hero Iron Man sort of out-snark Benedict Cumberbatch's Master of the Mystic Arts, Doctor Strange. There are some really terrific pairings, and the actors are having a good time. And in any event, Marcus and McFeely wrote all three Captain America movies that are among the best of the Marvel bunch, including Civil War, which is also loaded with Avengers, like this one, and informs the internal conflict between Iron Man and Chris Evans' Captain America character, which still lingers here because, well, it's serialized storytelling, and that's the issue. I mean, it really works best if you've been following these Marvel Cinematic Universe movies for a while and know the characters. It's truly part of a larger story, and unlike Black Panther or the last Thor movie or Ant-Man or the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, it's not meant as a standalone and probably doesn't work well in that regard. But as entertainment here, in the penultimate chapter of an epic, it's kind of a blast. And there's a serious cliffhanger that's enhanced by the one end credit sequence that needs to be seen to prepare for the next step on the journey if you're going to take it. And that's, of course, the climactic part of the Infinity Wars story, which is due in theaters next year. Who will live, who will die, etc. Well, I got to say, I enjoyed it. I did have those caveats about needing to, I've already been familiarized with a lot of these characters to truly enjoy this. It's great to see Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther and Zoe Saldana's Gamora, Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen as Vision and Scarlet Witch. Tom Hiddleston is always good as the Joker, but the problem with a movie like this is you only get these brief vignettes. Everyone is given good stuff to do. it's fan service on some level, and it is sort of
Wait a minute, as the Joker?
No, as the Vision, as Loki.
Oh, you said Joker.
Tom Hiddleston as Loki the Joker.
No,
he's sort of a he's a
you
guy.
said Joker. I'm just correcting it. Okay.
Hey, Joker, yokel, Loki. Who cares? I mean, there's a lot of characters disappear here. I mean, they are in danger. Prepare yourselves for some real wrenching stuff. But maybe it'll all be fixed next time out. Ultimately, if you're a fan of this stuff, it's a joyful experience and a lot of fun. But let's be honest about it. It's overstuffed to the max. Okay, moving along, let's get to a movie that's far more intimate.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
Deadpool isn't in there, is he?
He is not, because prior to the acquisition of 20th Century Fox by Marvel, by Disney, which is ongoing right now, he has been the province of Fox Studios, and thus they didn't work him in. But Deadpool 2 is another of these films that's coming down the pike in the next, it'll be out at the beginning of May, and it features the mercenary.
I'll tell you what I object to all of this. For instance, I like Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't need them to be used separately in another movie. I like their series and the relationship between them, and I don't need them to be folded into this so-called Marvel universe.
This epic, I understand. And yet, at the same time, there's a certain thrill to see, Chris Pratt's Star-Lord bickering with Tony Stark.
Still, I just think it isn't what I mean, I like both Guardians of the Galaxy pictures, and I liked them precisely because they had nothing to do with any of the other pictures.
Which is great, and the same goes for Black Panther. Let's put it this way: the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, no, Black Panther had something to do with them long before the Black Panther movie came out. I mean, he was in the last film.
Exactly.
But what I'm saying is, Guardians of the Galaxy was this side project they had. Didn't think it was going to do much of anything, and it became a big success. So now they're folding them into this universe, and I'm bothered by that.
Everything I've heard about their preparations and their execution of Guardians suggested they were going to fit them in the larger scheme of things. But you don't have to see this movie if you don't want to. And the Guardians films are sort of serialized in their own way, parts 1 and 2. And in those movies, we see Thanos, or at very least, we see evidence of the Infinity Stones. So for me, it's, you can have it both ways if you want, or neither way. But I understand your feelings, and I do believe that the Guardians movies, the Captain America films, and in fact, Black Panther are better films than this one for all of the effort they put into it, because they have more chance to sit down and introduce themselves. You get to know the characters a little better. You see character development. What you see in this movie is the end game of character development that you've been watching for, 10 years, if you have been watching it. So, yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. You may not enjoy this at all, but, if you have...
It sounds to me, from the way you describe it, that Marvel has jumped the shark.
No, they've been heading this way the whole time. They've meant to do this. One of the things that's going to happen with this film is that it's going to actually set the table for their next bunch of movies. This is sort of unprecedented in cinema history, where there's been something of this nature. But they're going to use this to cull some of the characters out and to set other characters up down the road. I will say that, there are certain characters that are missing, a handful of them in this movie, and there's a reason why. And we'll learn the reasons down the road, I assume, if we follow these films, and I do.
Okay, next.
All right. Disobedience. Disobedience is a provocative, troubling, and occasionally sexy drama, which basically tells the story of the fallout from forbidden love in London's Orthodox Jewish community, with the benefit of a blue ribbon cast led by Rachel Weisz, Rachel McAdams, that's right, the two Rachels, and Alessandro Nivola. The backstory here is that Rachel Weisz, as a young girl, is raised by the head rabbi in this community in London, and she feels an attraction to one of the other girls in the community, the younger version of Rachel McAdams, and is then shunned by everyone in the community for, not kind of being the proper Jewish girl that she's intended to be. She was kind of involved with the younger version of Alessandro Nivola's character, an Orthodox rabbi on the way up who was basically mentored by Rachel Weisz character's father. And now, with the Rachel Weisz character's father dying, she's come back to London for the ceremonies and rituals that accompany his death, and also to deal with the dispensation of his house. And when she does, she runs into Rachel McAdams' Esty character. So Ronit and Esty reconnect, and sparks begin to fly, which disturbs Esty's husband, played by Alessandro Nivola, Rabbi Dovid, who is being groomed, I guess, to take over the leadership role in the synagogue. It is crackling, and it is sweet and sad. And, if you ever wanted to see the two Rachels embracing, and by embracing I mean something far more intimate, this is your chance. Sebastian Lelio co-wrote this thing and directed it. And again, super, three leads that are just out of this world. And it's kind of an interesting glimpse into what is very anti-modernity, the Orthodox Jewish community. And it's also, again, a great forum for three fantastic actors to show what they're capable of doing. Speaking of fantastic actors, I'm a big fan of Juliette Binoche, and she plays the character at the heart of Let the Sunshine In, which is, in fact, the latest film from the fine French director, co-screenwriter of this one, Claire Denis. She's playing Isabelle, a middle-aged fine artist and divorced mother who lives in Paris and would like to find love, only she's the queen of questionable choices. You see her with a chubby, entitled married banker. Yeah, the guy's married. A smug, handsome, married actor. A flaky fellow artist, and so on. I mean, this woman is definitely looking for love in all the wrong places. Plus, she's kind of a pill, maybe embittered by all the a-holes that she beds, but happily she's played by the great and nuanced Binoche, who makes the character's bad decisions and frustration pretty engaging, to a point. By the time Isabelle really started getting on my nerves, the movie ends in surprising and really bizarre fashion. And oddly enough, it's one of the naughtiest efforts I've seen from Denis, who broke through internationally with a couple of films that had French colonial African settings, Chocolat and Beau Travail, the latter being about a French foreign legionnaire. I mean, clearly this movie is a very personal thing from a woman of a certain age with a really kind of, shall we say, we'll say pointed view of relationships, and it benefits from the usual fine work out of Binoche. And in much smaller roles, Gerard Depardieu and Valerie Bruni-Tedeschi, who kind of show up. Let the Sunshine In was pretty solid work. Disobedience I found profoundly moving, and Avengers Infinity War was fun. There you go.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'll probably maybe go see Infinity War, just see what it's all about, because I have followed these films in the past, although I've found many of them to be dull and uninspiring. Like most of the Avengers films, I have not liked the ones that they've done.
What did you think of Civil War?
I hated Civil War because it's not a Captain America picture, and how dare you call it Captain America Civil War? It should have been called Avengers Civil War.
You're picking at nits, but okay.
I'm not picking at nits. That film is filled with every single comic book character they can find, and it diminishes the character of Captain America.
I believe you're right in terms of what it should have been done, which was they should have called it Avengers.
I enjoyed the first two Captain America films. Thought they were terrific, special, all kinds of things. But then when they got to the Civil War thing, I said, "Oh, this is bullshit." I just wasted my money.
One of my favorite films of all of these is The Winter Soldier.
See, the one thing you forget as a reviewer, and this is what galls me about reviewers, is you get to see these movies for nothing, so you approach them with an entirely different view than the person who just put out $50 for he and his wife.
Well, that's valid, except that I try to do...
It's more than valid. Every one of you guys should be forced to pay to go see the movies.
I said we are getting paid to see the movies.
No,
Oh, wait.
you should pay to see the
I
movies.
know, I'm kidding.
Then you will arrive at them with perhaps a slightly different perspective. Like, is it worth $50?
Well, I can tell you right now that if you've watched these other films and are committed to these movies, it's worth seeing. But if you're not, I have a feeling you're going to be complaining about this when you see it, and you probably have a leg to stand on because it's vignettes. And I don't know if they're satisfying on the whole to someone who wants something a little more in depth. I will say the character with the most screen time and who gets the most depth is Brolin's Thanos, and he has a pretty great emotional journey when you watch it. And his motivations aren't what you think they are. They seem a little more noble in a twisted way. So I don't know. We'll see what you say when you catch it. But I'm prepared for a barrage of negativity after you watch this thing.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Anyway, that's about it for you, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Unless you have some TV suggestions.
No, Brockmeyer's back on. I like Brockmeyer with Hank.
That's
Azaria.
Hank Azaria as the sportscaster, right?
Yep. Very funny show. Very, very funny show. And Trust continues to be a very good show as well. So I suggest both of those. And, of course, the girlfriend is watching Handmaid's Tale, the second season, which so far she says isn't too terribly good. You know.
Well, Archer, the animated movie about the sort of superhero type.
Boring.
I love that show.
Boring.
It's plowing similar ground. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, let's get out of here. We're boring people.
Okay. You can catch me, please. You can catch me at Twitter at Culture Blaster and on Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page at Facebook. And next week we'll talk more.
Okay. And there's more GABNet coming right up.